Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Honesty Hour. I'm back with my first two guests, Samantha and Edson. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I've missed you guys, nogals.
Is it?
Not so much Samantha. That's because I live with her.
So you saw a lot more frequently.
And I've had conversations with her in the meantime. Whereas you and I haven't really spoken frequently.
No. For almost a month? More?
Maybe more, yeah.
Yeah.
I had quite a long break in the Northern Cape. A fruitful one that I enjoyed. But I'm happy to be back.
Good.
Well, this is one of the reasons I'm happy to be back. The happy hour.
Oh yes, the happy hour. Sorry.
And speaking of the happy hour, so when I went on YouTube the other day, I searched Honesty Hour, and I got so 5 or 6 different podcasts,
Oh wow.
also named Honesty Hour. It wasn't a problem because I don't think anyone's patented. Patented?
Patented. I would say
Is it?
patented.
Okay. So I don't think I'm in any legal trouble, but it's not cool to have the same name as 5 or 6 other podcasts. Having said that, Happy Hour, because you call it Happy Hour,
Yes.
is also a podcast, and I know those people.
Oh, is it?
Not personally.
But happy hour is also a term.
For drinking and stuff now.
Well, not only, but okay. It has been applied to such a case. Yes.
Am I confusing Happy Hour with First Thursdays?
Oh, wow.
I know about First Thursdays because I was in an Uber once, and he told me, why are you leaving town? It's First Thursdays.
No, First Thursdays is a thing on its own. Happy hour happens every day.
Yes, and there's people that drink every day also.
They are. It's good to stay hydrated.
So then I thought about the name, and then I thought, you know what? I'm not going to change it. Just because I feel like we've already done a couple episodes under that name. Logistically, it would be an effort. And also, I like the name.
It is a good name.
I mean, if you think, yeah, it just in terms of alliteration, it works. Happy Hour, Honesty Hour, Horny Hour.
Yeah.
That used to happen.
But that chapter's not going to come until
That
much
was
later.
That was on ETV.
Oh, was it?
At 12 o'clock at night.
Oh,
How
but
did you know
I don't
this?
think they called it.
No,
I don't
I
think
s-
this term was used.
It was something Temptations, something like that. I
Really?
forgot the show's
Wow.
name, but I used to see the adverts. Like I used to say tonight on E, and he advertises the thing, and I never watched it. To be
Okay.
fair, I
Yeah.
had no interest.
Because you were very small when that was happening.
But even today, I have no interest in watching that particular program. But then I thought also, like, the name carries significance in terms of what I'm trying to do here.
Be honest.
Yes.
Or be happy.
Be honest.
Not the other one.
I think happiness is cool. I don't think it's something that you strive for. I think maybe in the beginning I thought that's the goal of life, to be happy. But it's to find meaning. Because
The goal is to find meaning.
the goal of life.
Okay.
There's a Nietzsche quote that I like. He says, life is suffering and survival is finding the meaning to that suffering. Because I think happiness is an emotion. And emotions fluctuate and change. And I don't think it's the greatest to be in one emotional state for prolonged periods of time. You know, you need there's beauty in sadness. And very little beauty in anger, but it's a necessary emotion as well. If we were happy all the time, I don't think it would be as fulfilling an experience, which is why meaning. So that's what I'm navigated by at the moment.
Okay. I see it slightly differently though. I've always classified happiness as, well, I say always, as since I became sort of conscious and aware of the concept of happiness, and that we should not or need not have happiness all the time. I came to a realization that happiness, at least in my experience, is a byproduct of a journey. So what you call meaning, I call fulfillment. and doing something that brings fulfillment of purpose just automatically spawns happiness, in my experience. And it's not always a happy experience, but you can still be happy doing that thing. Yeah, massaging in the rain.
It was very fulfilling.
It has been, actually. And I was happy. And I think maybe just to provide context, I'm a professional massage therapist. I'm not just a random person looking for people with tight muscles in the rain. Yeah, because I don't think we covered what it is
Your
that I do.
occupation.
Yeah.
We have on an episode.
No.
Maybe
On our very, very first episode that was not aired because it was not.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the one where you pulled out the
we had gremlins at the time.
posts
Yes.
and things.
We did a deep dive on Edson's Instagram and we found out that
Well,
he was
there's not. It's a
prolific.
deep dive is maybe,
uh,
what's the word?
embellishment,
No,
hyperbole,
wow,
exaggeration.
something like that. Yeah, really enthusiastic advertising. There are some posts there. I don't think you'll use all your fingers to count them. I could be wrong. That's how serious I am about it. So yeah, if you've done a deep dive, then
Then it wasn't too deep.
no.
I once told you something, Edson. I think I said something about all social media has elements of narcissism to it. All social media posts. I think after, as I said that maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I think my stance has changed on that.
Yeah. Since you've started social media accounts.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
now it looks bad.
How convenient.
No, but I don't think all of it is rooted in narcissism. I think there's genuinely people on social media that want to brighten other people's days and they think, oh, this could put a smile on your face.
Yeah.
Having said that, the content I post makes me feel like
Because of the fact that you're posting it, or because of the fact that people would be amused by it? I mean, so where's the kick?
So it differs according to the platforms.
Understood.
I've realized Instagram, I like posting the stuff because I think, oh, that looks smart. And then I get likes for it. And I'm like, oh, other people agree that looks smart. And then it's like a little bit of reinforcement. On YouTube, I'm here for what I'm creating. So
Yes.
whether or not it gets 0 views or whether or not it gets 150 views.
It's really a
Because
record
that's
for the
the
future.
ceiling at the moment.
Okay.
But you guys know why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it has been fulfilling because I've listened back to these episodes a scary amount of times.
Is it?
Yeah. I'd
Oh,
say
wow.
more than the average person.
Is it?
And I
Is
enjoy
that
them.
where all the views are coming from?
And I enjoy them every single time because I think this is a quality product.
Okay.
You sound
Okay.
like you disagree, Samantha.
No, I agree.
She can't disagree on what you think.
Yes, it's
Okay,
your
yeah,
opinion.
Yeah.
That's true. So therefore, I do not agree. I don't disagree. It's your opinion.
But also, honestly, it's a
I also don't
reflection
think
on.
she thinks you're very mistaken. But yeah.
Uh,
Getting into semantics there.
Honestly, is also a reflection on the fact that I've learned the lesson, and not fully. I'm still learning the lessons, but the importance of honesty. Because when they say pathological liar, does that mean you lie for fun?
Oh.
Like it's second nature?
I never actually looked at what could be the definition of pathological
Maybe that would be a
liar.
recreational liar.
I was one of those.
I
Oh.
think, yes. I
For the
would agree
purposes
with
of
that.
amusement.
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
That's why.
And
whenever
not just
I
telling a
said-
story just to create the reaction and then going, oh, I'm playing. Like, you really just leave them believing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
That's why my previous comments with the previous stories emphasize the fact that he would just say stuff because that is how he did it.
Okay.
And
I
then the
remember you
people-
mentioning that
and
you
then
would
the
say things
people-
for reactions.
Yes, and then the people who don't know that he's just saying it for reaction believe it and they go with it to his great entertainment and enjoyment.
But then you never set them straight.
No.
No.
Oh.
Now, in my mind, I was playing a game, and the reactions are like,
But
The
they didn't
points.
know they were playing a game.
yes, and it's the ultimate form of cowardice, lying. because it's twisting the fabric of reality, right?
Okay.
Because the truth doesn't exist in that story that you lied in, right?
Okay.
Or maybe you've twisted the facts. But either way, that version of events isn't real.
Right.
Eventually, the real version of events makes its mark, right? Because the truth is there, whether you acknowledge it or not, right? And it acts on itself. So there's consequences to what's really going on. And oftentimes when you lie, the person that suffers from the fabric of reality twisting back into place, because you can't twist something without it, you know? If you're picturing a
Tapestry.
elastic band, you know, and
Oh,
I'm
wow.
pulling it.
Okay.
If I release, it's going to snap back.
Yes.
So the person that suffers from my lying is oftentimes somebody else.
Someone on the other side of your thumb.
And it's also unnecessary. It's really... And here's what I will say is it's comfortable sometimes to lie in a situation, but it's only delaying something that actually exists. So the truth needs to be spoken, whether you like the truth or not. That is the truth. And speaking the truth, it might not always be fun, but it's going to be you being the most you that you can be. And I think there's great value in being the most you that you can be, because then you're not being a phony.
I completely agree. Because being the truest you that you can be is the ultimate fulfillment of purpose.
And hence, you feel happy.
Yeah,
So you get happy hour from honesty hour.
exactly. It's a natural byproduct.
Although I will say, nah, we were at, because I've tried to stop lying in maybe the past 4 years. It's been a journey, and
Okay.
I'm still trying my best to be the most me I can be every day. But I was at this event. It was like a fair, right? And they were selling these things. And I saw one of my aunts there, and she was enthusiastic. She said, "Hi, nice to see you here." You know, we did all the small talk that you do. And then she said, "You know, I've got this ice cream here in my hand. I don't really want it anymore. Would you like?" And she handed it to me before I could, you know, so to process the offer. And then me not wanting to be the rude child, I don't know why in my mind I processed that rejection here would be rude. But there was no way that I was going to say, "No, auntie, I don't actually want this." And let me tell you, that ice cream looked nar. It looked so junk. There was some sort of malva pudding in the corner.
Oh, this
And-
was ice cream in a bowl.
Yeah, in a bakkie.
Okay.
Oh, because I'm picturing like an ice cream
Oh, no,
cone.
not the cone, not the cone.
And
Yeah,
I'm also wondering,
second-hand
like-
cones are not appealing.
Yes, exactly. Because I'm wondering, like, did she lick the one side?
You
and-
know
I
what,
was
now-
I was wondering if it was an ice cream in a bag. You know, like a Magnum or one of those fancy ones.
No. There was nothing fancy about this ice cream. Let
Right.
me tell you. There was a spoon in there that had remnants of a saliva in it.
Oh,
This
Oh,
this is
man.
not like before COVID times. This is now a few months ago.
oh.
And the ice cream is like red and blue, and now it's like gone into the
Red and blue.
into the. No,
Probably
sorry,
bubblegum.
it wasn't malva. It was a waffle. It was like a small sticky waffle.
Right.
Anyway, the waffle was now also bluish and red
Yes.
and soggy, and it was nar, man. But I was like, "Oh yes, auntie, thank you." And then I stood there, and then we walked away, my cousin and I. And then when we walked away, I was like, "Well, I'm gonna need to detour via the bathroom, where I disposed of the contents, because I was never gonna eat that ice cream. It looked horrible." Anyway, so I lied to get out of that situation. I could have just said, and I should have said in hindsight, "No, thank you." But
What
I
do you
was-
think
I
would have
was
happened?
being a coward. If I had said no, thank you,
Yeah,
she would have been slightly surprised, but I think she would have accepted it.
surprises are good.
Yes, I would. I
my
think
experience.
surprised because for some reason, and I suppose this is our fault, and by our I mean myself and Sean's fault. We liked food. We still do, but like
in any
we
form
have-
from any people.
no, when we were younger,
Yeah.
we would be the ones that would go for second helpings, and we would not say no to. We would very rarely say no to anything.
There is
And
a
so-
slight difference though between a second helping and somebody else's helping.
Yeah, but you see, that someone else's helping was also not off the.
They didn't limit
okay.
themselves.
Yeah,
so
that's
that,
what I'm
that was fair
saying.
game to you.
And then, as we grow older and as we go on, we have learnt self-control and also the realization of we don't need everything. That we don't need to eat everything. So, in our house, the intake of food and just the food itself is not such a
Big deal.
big deal anymore. Just because all three of us, we only eat when we need to eat, and we only eat what we feel we need to eat.
Which I will say is
Doesn't-
also a byproduct of privilege. Like we in a
I
decent
suppose
enough
so.
situation that we
I
don't
suppose,
have to go for
but
everything.
also
that's there.
just realization and honesty and self revelations and stuff. At least that's from my experience.
You had a
is
vision
from
in
that.
the night.
No, it's just like in my mind, in this journey of self-discovery and realizing your power in the fact that you can have it, but you don't need to have it. And that of I can have it, but why would I want it? It's really changed the way that I look at food and I look at everything. So now we sit with the dilemma of whenever we do go to family functions, it's like a given that we would finish whatever, which
And
is
you know the
just
sins
horrible.
of the father, no?
It's just horrible.
So I'm
anyway.
dealing with their nonsense now.
Yes.
But that's also not strictly true because I do eat a lot. But that thing of eating everything that's available, no? You said you learned that just because there's food doesn't mean I have to eat. I feel like this lesson can be applied on multiple fronts. Just because there's words that you know doesn't mean those words have to be said. And I'm saying this with prior backstory, something I need to get off my chest that's been bothering me.
Hectic.
I feel like this is a good place to let go of this.
Did you lie about your vocabulary?
I was watching the cricket and there was a commentator. Oh, by the way, Samantha and Edson earlier said something about, didn't you want to be a commentator? And I did for a large part of my life. And if the opportunity arises, SABC or Supersport, let the man know. Because
I don't know if they're going
Or
to
some
take that
other
as a.
sports broadcaster.
yes, it's not limited to.
I mean,
yeah.
if they're going to take your offer as let a man know as your application for
I'm providing
commentating.
English and Afrikaans commentary. I'm a jack of all trades.
And I
Yes.
was just gonna say earlier when you said I just look nar, I was like, I mean, for professional reasons and for perhaps possibly foreign listeners.
Mosag. Disgusting.
And for sin. For sin was in there
For sin,
before.
yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
one was
I'm
explained.
teaching. See, I'm also a
Yes,
teacher.
it's educational.
Yes.
Oh my goodness! Yes. Anyway, the definition of that is nauseating.
Oh, yes.
Of
true.
nar.
Yeah.
Of nar.
Yes. Not a
Yes.
man.
Although they can be nauseating too.
Yeah.
I mean, well, you get ladies that can.
And I
also
could
be
hear when you
nauseating.
said, man, the was the apostrophe N deal.
Yes,
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 the
yes.
N with
That
the
was
kappie.
Afrikaans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well done.
So,
Sports broadcasters.
yes,
Thank you.
I would really love the privilege because there are some sports broadcasters or commentators that I love listening to. Neil Manthorpe is like for me, he has that top spot, I could listen to him all day. I was not listening to Neil Manthorpe on this occasion. It
Right.
was a different commentator. And he has a pantheon of words at his choosing. But none of them have any substance to it. So he says sentences that like grammatically is correct, right? And he's using big words. But he's not saying anything
Of substance.
of value. Like it doesn't, because value is created with context, right? You have to, there's a context, there's a match situation. I'm going to say something, or maybe I'm going to take away from the match situation and focus on maybe something in a player's personal life. I'm just giving examples of things you could do. But he says these things that are like nothing. But he says them with conviction because he knows all these words. And it's just the most annoying thing that I've ever seen in my like. There was a point where I muted. Thank you.
Yeah.
There's a point where I muted the TV because I would rather watch the cricket in silence than listen to this man. Like make what do they call it? Banging pots. What's that saying?
Yes, clanging
Yes.
cymbals.
Yes,
Cymbals and,
yes,
and
yes.
banging
Empty
pots,
vessels.
Yes.
Make the most noise. Yes.
Yeah.
Because he's not saying anything. Like say, I would rather have you say it in poor English, but I understand what you're saying, and you're adding something. You're creating an idea in my head that wasn't already there. But these guys just say things for the sake of, oh, there's some silence. I should probably just say something, and it doesn't amount to anything. I've seen the same with adverts. There's this advert, this Betway advert. Well, there was a betting company. I'm not sure.
You know
if
they
it was-
sponsor sports events. Broadcasters may like them.
I'm not quite sure if it was Betway.
That sounds better.
There's these adverts, and it's about rugby and football and cricket, and it's like they say these things, but there's no context, obviously, because there's no actual match going on in the advert.
Yeah.
It's just like some guys doing a ruck or a batsman about to like
It was
take his
Betway.
guard.
I was also watching it with you. That's why I bet.
Let's not give them free advertising, eh? Because I have to.
Or not hurt your future chances.
Oh, sorry.
I thought we
yes.
covered this off.
That is, oh yes.
It may not
yes.
have been Betway.
That's ironic coming from me because I'm always on your case about
Yeah, true, eh?
mentioning names and mentioning stuff. Yes.
True. And then
My bad.
They say things like
I think it's good that the auntie remained unnamed. Don't go
Yes,
back there.
Very good.
at the football, no?
Yeah.
So for the football section, then they'll say the winning team will seek to press, and then the bowler will look to contain runs in the power play. Like you're saying these things, no? That's like it doesn't. You're not saying anything.
Because
you're just
this is
saying
the purpose of a
things
bowler
that don't-
anyway. No bowler
Ex-
wants to give away runs.
Exactly. Now this is what the commentator was doing. He was
Yeah.
saying these things that like the batsman will start looking to use his feet, and it's like obviously the batsman will start looking. Like
Such
say
things-
something that means something.
Situations are that they're quite common in the broadcasting world.
Mm.
Sometimes it happens on the radio, and I listen to the radio fairly often, or at least the radio is playing. And sometimes I also have to switch that on to mute,
Mm.
just for the sake of appreciating the silence.
Mm.
It doesn't necessarily need to be filled with something.
Well, the silence is giving you as many new ideas as those people are,
Well,
if not more.
I'm thinking a lot more.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous to me that as a professional you don't recognize the difference between saying something for the sake of words and saying something because there is something that needs to be said. You know?
I think a lot of it comes from, for some reason, people create anxiety for themselves if left alone in silence. And I had a conversation with somebody a few weeks back talking about how I appreciate silence. And I suppose it's easy for me to appreciate silence because our mother kind of instilled within us to be silent because she hates unnecessary noise. So whenever when we were younger and we would be doing silly stuff to make each other laugh, she didn't like the unnecessary, well, she didn't know the context of it, but just because it was constant laughing, and I suppose, I don't know, we were probably working on her nerves.
But that's also
She would-
linked to her childhood.
Well, that is, yes, that's also because of her own childhood. But nevertheless, the point is that the way that she dealt with it has instilled within me an appreciation of silence. Because her reference was always DSE and Malaysi. So whether we were too excited about something and making a noise that way, or if we were laughing for apparently no reason.
Can you just hear from the
From
her
the other room, yes.
Van Trankies kom trankies.
Yes, stuff like that. And I mean, yes, that is. Well, we will not comment on the ways to raise children, but the point is that I'm fine with silence, and I think all of us are fine with silence, and that's why I don't necessarily. A few years back, I wouldn't have appreciated an unexpected visit from someone just because we like our own time and we like our own space, and it would be boring to people It would be extremely boring to people if they have to be
around us.
around
always.
us, because we just, our own thoughts and the things that we think and everything is within our own heads. We don't say everything that comes to mind. And so when meeting
Yeah, I was
new
never going to
people-
say it's boring out loud. Ever. But
so like especially so now when I meet new people, I would get nervous because I knew that I would have to keep a conversation going. Now, of course, like I don't care if I said what I needed to say, then I'll be quiet for the rest of the conversation. I'll only speak when it's necessary, or when I have something that I feel would contribute in a positive sense to the conversation.
Having said that, I do get annoyed sometimes with your contributions, but that's my own issues.
Yes, that's your thing, and that's because you feel that my contributions are invalid,
Not invalid so much as
annoying.
yes.
okay. But that's really just your interpersonal
Yes,
dynamic.
yes.
So
But I will say
I don't think she's annoying at all.
Exactly. There we have
I would say that
appreciation for
there's
everything
some
that I say.
bias in your.
I could say
opinion.
the same for you.
True. I think it was. I've been following this. I get all my knowledge of Greek philosophers from Instagram. So I saw this. I think it was a
Done a deep
Seneca,
dive somewhere.
Seneca quote that was like, "The wise man speaks because something needs to be said. The fool speaks because they need to say something." Which is obviously you can recognize the difference. I'm gonna. it's related also to learning new languages. The way you learn languages isn't you learn a whole bunch of words, and then you can speak the language. Just because I know what bread is in Italian.
Do you?
No.
Ciabatta.
I should have probably used. Is it?
I don't know, but isn't it Italian bread?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But then focaccia would also be.
No,
Italian bread,
that's
right?
that's a pizza with nothing on it.
That
Is
is
it?
pizza.
Yeah.
with
Is that
nothing on
not a
it.
margarita?
No,
No, that's a pizza
cheese.
with tomato.
And
with
cheese.
yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. But
And
even
if you get the focaccia from India, and it's a naan.
Yes.
but even with all this knowledge, I can't now speak Italian or Hindi or you
With
know.
all of that knowledge, yeah.
Exactly.
I'm with you.
Like I know what friend is in Swahili, Rafiki.
Oh, is it?
Yes, and
Do you know that because of the Lion King?
well, yes, but also there's a song called Ai Mwana, and it was on Pro Evolution Soccer
You are what?
2011. No, but it's a good song, eh?
Okay.
And it's like there's a part where they go Baba Mama Rafiki, and that means like father, mother, friend, because he's addressing all these people. He's saying like I need to go. But it's quite man. I like that song. I like these obscure African songs like that one you sent me, the Rocking Chair one. I like that Swahili vibe. Anyways, I'm moving away from the point I was trying to make.
Yes.
Also, Simba is lion, and safari.
I thought it meant chip.
So learning the aggregate of words doesn't mean you can speak a language, because everything is about context. You need to learn the rules. You need to learn how things get said. And then knowing keywords is enough to make you understand. And that's what you wanted. That's the purpose of language, is to be able to communicate an idea
Yeah.
and not to know words. So people need to take that into account when they say things as well. It's like you can use, it's a little bit ironic coming from someone who has a podcast, no? But you don't always need to just say things.
And sometimes you do. Just going back to what you said about the commentator, and then also the awkward silence that people think needs to be filled, or the what was it? Silence anxiety.
Yes.
Sometimes the objective is not to provide useful information. Sometimes the objective is to fill the silence. And so, as a cricket commentator, that individual may have been given a directive to just speak, not necessarily provide an analysis or insight as to what may or may not be happening.
I hear you.
You know, so if the responsibility was to, because look, anybody who's watched a cricket match knows that you're quite far from the action. You know, if you want to watch it properly. So there's no way you're going to hear what the bowler's saying, or what the batsman's mumbling, or even what the wicketkeeper's saying to
Unless you're
England.
playing India. In which,
Well,
anyway.
yeah, and sometimes Australia.
Mm.
So yeah, so it could have been. I'm not saying it was. I'm thinking, if this person has this vocabulary, you assume that people who have a larger vocabulary
Yeah.
have some measure of
Intelligence.
and understanding and knowledge, and so they're not just throwing big words around, because then it becomes, like you said, somebody who just knows a lot of words but doesn't necessarily know how to communicate. And even with meeting new people, I don't think I do badly there, but I don't make it my point to be super friendly, because
Yeah.
in my head, friendly and happy are kind of the same thing. It's a byproduct of something.
Yes.
So yeah, if there's something to say, then I would say it. If there's not anything to say, I wouldn't. And I have a friend who I consider a very good friend, and one New Year's Eve 3 years ago, to be fair, I spent a lot of time just involved in a text conversation. So I was chatting for a bit, but at some point the chatting stopped. And then
Oh, were you chatting to Samantha?
I was,
Oh, okay.
and then I was just in the lounge with Richard, and everyone else was elsewhere, and it was literally just the two of us leading up to midnight. I didn't think I was going to say his name, because normally it's your job to mention people's names. But yeah, and we were sitting there,
Lovely guy.
and he's awesome. And he also doesn't speak much.
Yes.
And at the same time, I don't think it ever feels like an awkward silence. It doesn't feel like, oh, somebody needs to say something.
Yes.
We were just comfortable in the same space. And we were sitting, I think, in opposite ends, sorry, of the lounge. And we were watching a movie. And this was New Year's Eve, or at least how it happened to just fall into place that night. And then shortly before midnight, we paused the movie, and I think we changed the channel and checked the countdown or something. We probably went outside and looked at some fireworks or something like that. Said Happy New Year to each other, and gave each other a bit of a nod, and went back inside, sat where we were sitting, and we pressed play again.
Nice.
And that was one of the best New Year's Eve experiences.
Yes.
Simply because on some level, that space didn't need to be filled, but there was this common understanding. And so the experience was there. And I think this is what people miss. They almost miss the fact that this experience has the shape. It doesn't necessarily have to follow a particular form.
Yes.
And missing that is
Yeah.
really poor communication. Whether they're speaking or not, it's poor understanding
Yes.
of what I interpret the situation to be, and
Yes.
what I think it should be, or how I contribute to it.
And it has to do also with the other person's expectations of what this idea should look like.
Yeah.
So if you guys are on the same page about something doesn't necessarily need to be said, but I'm enjoying this experience, then I think you, in a way, you are communicating.
Yeah.
Even without words.
Well, I'm assuming we were on the same page. 3 years later, we are still friends.
That's good.
Yeah,
You didn't have a quiet falling out.
we did not. We also did not share another New Year's Eve experience, so
Maybe you didn't enjoy it as much as you did.
maybe.
I can identify a little bit with what you said. I was on a date, my first one. Sure. Progress, no? Since
Yeah.
the first couple of episodes. But no, it was a fairly casual thing, and yet there was still, I was nervous. I was nervous about too much silence.
Oh,
And not so much that the silence would have been a big deal, more that I just didn't want the other person to be uncomfortable. I wanted the person to have the best experience that they could have. And we ended up we spoke almost the entire duration, and we sat down for about 3 hours. With just conversation. It was conversation that actually had substance. It was enjoyable. There were witty moments. There were moments of like needed silence, where sometimes the only appropriate response to something is reflection and thinking, and you don't need to say something in return. Maybe my jokes are just that bad that it needed some silence after. No, I'm joking, of course.
Yeah, was there a follow-up date?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, you were.
It was a lovely experience. Ironically, on the follow-up date, I was also worried about the same thing, and it also went perfectly.
Okay.
So I should worry less about that, because it turns out if the other person's also gevaarlijk, and I think of myself as like, am I right, then these things tend to work out, and the other person was gevaarlijk, props to her.
I think everybody has some measure of gevaarlijkheid. It's really just about, then going back to the old truth thing. If you know where your strengths are, then then I think it's okay. But yeah, the same way. Sorry, I was maybe referencing people trying to fill the space. People trying to have conversation. I wouldn't say where they're not strong, but trying to portray or project strength or knowledge or insight on a subject where they're not. When the reality is, if you simply said, I don't know as much about this maybe as you do, that could become a conversation. But yes, gevaarlijk. So what happened at the third date?
No, I'm not explaining. I've decided to reject that line of questioning.
Is it?
Yeah. The
Okay.
was not in anticipation of answering that question.
So the third date went like that.
I was thinking, and all of a sudden, that idea that I had has now evaporated.
Okay.
But I promise you, it was something fulfilling.
Because very soon after I said third date, you said reject.
Well, I am back now.
You are back.
So,
With that thought, the runaway one.
oh no!
No,
I meant
he is,
physically. I'm back here
This
now.
happened. This happened in the holidays
Oh wow.
when he was away. Yes.
Let's not
Okay,
divulge more information.
I didn't realize all of this.
No. Yes, you didn't give him context. You just said the date.
I
There
said
was
during
no
the
context.
holidays.
Oh wow.
Oh.
If you guys rewind
There have been many holidays
Okay.
in your life.
through,
A couple of decades worth.
through.
I hope that for the first half a decade there weren't particularly dates. In fact, for the first decade.
No, I too am grateful. I've watched a lot of documentaries in the week, and
Yeah.
no, seriously,
No.
what bad are they? And these people, they live amongst us.
Nice.
I'm not saying.
I mean, not nice, but
yeah, of course yes. Of course, that doesn't mean everyone should be viewed with suspicion, but
indeed.
you can't. You don't really know a person until you really know a person,
Yes.
and that's not saying anything.
Yeah, that's kind of
Yes, I'm doing
Commentator-ish.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But what I'm saying is that not everyone should be taken as face value. But then
true.
going back
I
to
believe we only know what we really know.
exactly.
And
We spoke about like being your truest self. Now I noticed in high school is when I started to notice how different people could be when in company versus when you speak to them one-on-one.
yes.
And that's a reflection of, to some extent, there's insecurity there, because there's this need to try and be this idea of a person,
Yeah,
instead of
satisfy
just
the
being
idea.
exactly, instead of just being you. And I'm not saying I'm not guilty of it. I probably am,
I don't think there's a person in the world who's not guilty of it.
but it's very apparent with some people, the change, because I believe one-on-one I can have a conversation with anyone, and I think there could be value gained from, I say anyone, like 90% of people, 99% of people. But there are some people who,
So is
when
the
they in
state
a
person
group,
in the 1%? Sorry.
but when
Yeah.
people are in groups, And especially I notice when it's not mutual groups, if that makes sense. Where it's groups where not both of you are originally part of that ensemble. So when it's people from their circle,
Yeah.
but not from yours, all of a sudden, you're interacting with a vastly different person than the person that you were speaking with one-on-one. And it's a very jarring experience, I think, the first time it happens, or the
Yeah,
first
it's
time you start
painful.
to notice. Because you've created this, you've put trust in this person.
The relationship.
Yeah,
You
and-
feel it like it's a betrayal of
Yeah.
the relationship
Be-
that you've created with the person. Yeah.
But that's because it's a betrayal of the idea of the person you've created in your head.
Yeah.
So you've created this like platform, like on Fortnite they build these.
Hectic.
I don't know about Fortnite, but I've watched it.
Okay, but you'll reference it.
I've watched my cousins play a lot of Fortnite
Okay.
over the holidays.
Okay.
So I'm using it as a point of reference now.
Okay.
They build these things out of the materials they have. So they
What
build
are
a
things?
floor like and
Oh.
walls.
And
A building. Yeah.
Nice.
Yes. And
A
then
virtual building.
yes, but it
Yes.
comes out of thin air, right? So you creating this floor for yourself, and then all of a sudden, when the enemy attacks the building, then the building breaks, and then there's no more floor, so then they fall through because there was nothing to support them anymore. Now, this is what happens in my brain when the idea of someone I've created all of a sudden is dissolved, and now it's like I'm falling. I don't know where the building is because you've sort of shattered my. I say shatter. I don't think about it and cry at night, but you know what I mean.
Yes, I do know what you mean. I suppose I don't know. I don't have an answer for why people do that. It could just be they also just
Yeah.
they reacting to their perception of you, also in a way. So, however they see you or whatever you responding to or showing them is what they are building their perception of you upon, and so they interact with you based on that perception.
Yeah.
So
So you think that maybe the person you get one-on-one isn't necessarily the truest them also.
yes,
It could just
exactly.
be them
So
reacting to what they think you
exactly.
would.
That's so that the first thing that I was gonna say before I went on that very complicated explanation
Yeah.
was maybe they weren't actually being honest with you.
And maybe that's the real them
And
in
that's
the
the
group.
thing. Yes, exactly. So when they are there, now all of a sudden the facade is gone, and this is what you see. However, granted, more likely it is that you
Yes.
meet the true version, and then amongst other people.
It
Well,
could
we also
be-
don't know.
Because when people, I'm not always the same version of myself in certain groups.
You
So
see?
it could just be a different because I know that the person I am at church is not exactly the same person that I am around my friends. Now
Ooh,
that's not
buddy.
that's not saying that I'm doing the devil's work when I'm around my friends. My friends can vouch for this. Like I'm still a decent human being.
But
know?
you're in a different mood.
Different
Could you be
mood.
Could you be hungry? Because think about when you go to church. Think about how long you stay there. How often do you have a good solid breakfast before you go to church?
Very rarely.
Okay.
So
So a hungry Samuel
Yes.
goes to
Anyway,
church.
well, whoever goes to church, I think there's generally a perception of behave yourself. Whereas when you are with your friends, there's a general perception of just be yourself.
yeah,
Do you
which
know
is
what
crazy.
wow.
I mean? Do you know? But do you
Yes,
know? Do you
yes,
understand what I'm
yes.
saying? So
Yes.
even though the ideal situation would be like, just come as you are, because that is what we always say when it comes to church things. Come as you are, be who you are. Yet,
But come as the right
Yes.
version of who you are.
exactly my point.
Which I disagree with.
So-
like it's a large part of why part of me is disillusioned.
Yes.
with,
No.
um,
I also,
the state of-
I truly believe that I try to be who I am at church and with my friends, whoever it may be.
But what I'm saying is, it's not a different me at church. It's just a different
Yeah,
part of
yeah,
my
yeah.
character. I'm
Yes.
still being
Can
genuine.
I ask a question quickly? Do you think that, because I know you're going to get so annoyed with this now, but the way that you speak, and I'm not talking
feel
about,
free
we're
not to
coming
get
back
annoyed.
we're coming back to the way that we speak and things that we say,
Okay.
right? Do you believe that when I go to Uppington and I speak like the Uppington people speak?
Hold on, no, can I just weigh in on a couple of previous points before while you gather yourself? I think if the personality changes between groups, it's just downright betrayal. Okay,
It's very dark.
because that's how it felt the first time it happened to me.
Ah,
Because I was really, really good friends with this person. I am still very good friends with this person, and
Yeah.
we have an understanding. It's not as if we were each other's only friend, and then they developed another set of friends. But we were going to a group, or we engaged with a larger group of people,
yes.
and I knew for the fact that we knew the other people on almost the same level. So there wasn't as if there was this other relationship. And then this person started behaving differently towards me, and it was just like, I get that we have to dilute, you know, the intensity of what we do, because there are now 10 people instead of just 2 people. But it's just, you know, it just didn't compute in my head. And that feeling of, you know, like you're saying, you putting your foot out, and then all of a sudden the ground disappears. Felt like betrayal.
I will say that I've seen it happen in a matter of seconds, how someone's behavior changed, but that felt less like betrayal and more like the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it wasn't funny to me because I was that person. I was sort of, because also at that point, I wouldn't say I had some kind of anxiety, but I was cautious about, you know, I wasn't as liberated is not the right word, but I had certain insecurities that in a bigger group I just wouldn't be as open about. And then all of a sudden, my good friend and I, started having a different kind of conversation, just because, like, this is not how we normally talk. You know,
I would see.
And
But he didn't seek to expose your insecurities.
no. It's just the fact that this, like you're saying, this level of trust,
Yes.
and this idea that you've had now seems to have been placed on something that was a lot more fluid than you thought it to
As
be.
they said in Sabbath school.
Did they say that in Sabbath school?
Something about the foolish man built his house upon the sand.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes, but this is different. 'Cause I wasn't.
You know, they always used to sing that. Oh no, I'm thinking of Mr. Noah. But they used to sing, "The rain came down in torrents."
Do you think Torrance was a place?
Yes, I thought, this place Torrance, no?
I know.
This place, they get a lot of rain here.
Because
I didn't know
that's-
Noah was, you know?
That's because in the whole story they don't tell you that he was a man from Torrance.
Exactly.
I was
It
quite.
came,
Wow.
because I learned the word torrents first as a online place where I got my series illegally, but then I learned what the word torrents means.
So I heard the
Which is
song
like
before
volume.
I found the place online.
Yes, yes, that sequence of events happened with me. But I'm saying I learned what torrents meant, right? Later.
Oh,
Then, even later, I didn't find out what it means and then think, oh, that's what they meant in
did
the
you all
song.
see it in the news?
I would.
Oh.
No, we never watched the weather report that intensely.
No, but see, this was big news. So it was
Okay.
part of the headlines. And they said a torrent of rain.
Oh.
And then, sorry, I got quite excited there. And then I realized that the weather guy, when he spoke about torrential rain,
Yes, yes, talking about
and I
torrents.
drew that
Yeah, yeah,
connection, and that was a light bulb.
But it's so
And it
I-
kind of made the
yeah.
betrayal from earlier feel better. But
But we're gonna go back to your Uppington point.
yes.
Because I don't want to cut you off.
Okay.
So, what's your question again?
So is
I've
your
had enough time to
perception?
calm down about
Yes, I was just so your perception of people, because there's one thing, right? There's a person changing who they are completely,
Yes.
and then there are people like me who are still who they are, but
Yes.
we just change the way that we speak a little bit because we feel more comfortable in, you know.
Is it because you feel more comfortable?
And I do feel more comfortable. I feel absolutely more comfortable if I speak the way that, first of all, the way that I originally spoke in my entire life. You have to realize this. So, with my accent and everything and the way that I spoke Afrikaans, this is how I first 7 years of my life, this is all the Afrikaans that I knew. And the way
because
that
because we need to give context. You lived in
Yes.
Uppington. You
So,
grew up there.
but we mentioned this on the podcast already.
But can I also just give an example of what Samantha does, so that
That's quite clever.
people know why I get annoyed? It's because Samantha will talk normally, like she's talking now. Now this is the voice you hear now, like to 95%, it's gonna be how I speak at church, how I speak around my friends, the same accent I use when I'm in a different town, Uppington, which is the town that I'm in when I'm not in Cape Town for the most part. Now,
Because there are only those two towns. I get it.
in my world,
Yes.
don't worry, Quebeca, I'm coming for you. Your boy practiced that name.
Hey.
Got to be politically correct. Now, Samantha will speak normally like this, and then when she gets to Uppington, then all of a sudden there's this new side, this new sound to Samantha. All of a sudden she's saying nekau and as nah. Now
I don't really
these
say
things
that
mean
anymore. I do say nga. Because I like nga. I grew up with nga.
that means like sharp, like okay, cool.
Sharp is also actually a
I
very
know.
normal term there.
You know, sharp is sharp. I didn't
Yes.
realize
Yes.
that until like
But we all just say a shabra.
yeah. Now, she will say these things that you would never say in Cape Town, and you would never say it here.
Who am I going to say that to here? They don't understand it.
But will she say that to you in Uppington?
No.
Because she talks normal around me because she knows she's not supposed to talk like that.
Why do you believe that that is her pretending, and that this isn't her accommodating you?
No, because that's not
Because-
because I've
because-
seen her in moments where the last thing on her mind is accommodating me.
Let
She
me
has-
just say this.
she has
No, wait,
established.
let me just say this. Coming back to the thing that I said about the relationship that you have built with somebody. The relationship that I have built with my cousins is not one that I built with you.
Okay.
We are here every day. We have our own understanding, our own thing.
Did you say
However,
nekau?
the relation.
What did you say?
Ne, cow. Cow is
No, but is that what you
bra.
said now when to respond?
Oh, nice.
The relationship that I have with my cousins and with every other person that I engage with in Uppington, it started completely different. It's a different context. It's with my aunties. I do not feel comfortable. I never feel comfortable speaking English with any of my aunties, just because I have never done that. So I don't speak English with my aunties. I very rarely speak English with my aunties. There's like one or two that I'll speak English to, but that's because I can see that they are comfortable engaging in English with me. So I will lay down my guard and speak English with them. But the way that I'm an accommodating person. And so I will try and bridge the gap because I know I can. So then my accent will change, the way that I pronounce certain things in Uppington. In Afrikaans changes.
Okay.
Then when I'm coming to Cape Town, it's not
Then
necessary.
jy must hear.
It's not necessary for me to.
Nee, jy het nie vir my so gesê nie. And you're like, where was this going Uppington? Because all I want is some consistency. My Afrikaans, and broken as it is, my Afrikaans in Uppington is the same one I used at Mondelings at Norman in Sherwood High School.
That's different now. When it was Mondeling for Afrikaans in high school, it was Uppington. It was Uppington because that is the most savored version of Afrikaans that I know. Although I
Okay.
didn't say gay and whatever and all that stuff because no, we don't speak like that if we're speaking formally.
You didn't
Anyway.
say
Jy.
Gay.
gay.
It's,
no,
no,
so
but jy.
it's jy.
But jy. It's very
It's,
Namakoland type.
it's like
Because
that
they put the
side's
wrong
gum.
j at the front.
No, it's like that side's gum. Like
Okay.
here we say J or like J. But there's J for gilla.
Okay.
Okay? So
For our international listeners, jy is the word that we're talking about, and it means
it
you.
means you.
That's Uppington have Yatspies.
No. Anyway,
Move on.
so yes, we're not even gonna address that now. So then here in Cape Town, it's not necessary for me to engage that way. However, if our family does come from Uppington and they are here in Cape Town, immediately my Afrikaans changes to Uppington's Afrikaans.
My thing
because
is
that
just-
is the relationship that I had with him. Me and my friends, we speak English and we speak normal, and I can speak very formal Afrikaans with them because sometimes they do engage in Afrikaans. But if we're
My thing is, if
letting
we
down our
get visitors,
hair
no? If we
and
get visitors
everything.
from Uppington, sorry to interrupt you. We get visitors from Uppington, and like Dwight and your other friends, like your Cape Town friends that you speak some Afrikaans with, come at the same. Is your brain just gonna start jamming? Like, cause now you have to pick a side, Buddha. Now you have to choose which
I
side do
think
I
I
stand
can
on.
successfully engage in both accents.
I think she will adapt what she's saying according to
Yes.
the person that she's addressing.
Exactly.
Now my thing is, it's so annoying because if we go to India, she's gonna be like, "Hello, everybody," you know. Now, like, That's just, don't do that. Just
No,
speak how you speak.
listen, no, that's not going to be a thing.
I will say,
because
sorry.
I
Okay,
am
go
established
on,
as me. I'm not going to go there and all of a sudden change my English accent. This is my English accent. This is the way that I speak English here. This is the way that I speak English in Upington. This is the way that I speak English everywhere.
Okay. So, how I speak, I just realized I'm a hypocrite. Sorry. while you were
Exactly,
speaking.
because the way
No,
you speak
no,
English at
no.
UCT
Hang on,
is different
hang
to
on.
the way that you speak here.
Hang on, no fuss. No fuss.
Isn't that the rule, maybe?
No fuss.
It's kind of a rule of
Because I think
engagement.
I
It doesn't-
twist my
Listen,
English also.
Everyone that goes to UCT, you know, if you're listening to this podcast and you go to UCT, you know what I'm talking about. But I'm going to tell you why, maybe. And it's still not as bad as you because mine's very slight and it's only bound to that location. And I also try to unlearn it. But okay,
By your
I-
estimation.
I go, yes.
Yes.
That's one side of the story. I went to write my NBTs, it's a national benchmark test. It's a university entrance exam.
Okay.
I went to UCT to write it. I was in the car with my dad. I still remember we were listening to Chicago on the way.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a lovely morning. And then I was talking normally to my dad like I talk to you guys on this podcast. And then I
Really?
got out of the car. Yeah, we speak similar. I got out of the car. I said, thank you, Daddy. Like, bye. And then he left. And then I went up to this guy because I needed to ask where I needed to be for registration. And it was a fellow colored looking guy. But all of a sudden when I went up to him, I said, hi, bro.
Spontaneously.
With no prompt from him. Hi, bro, do you know where the building is where we need to sign up? And I was
Maybe-
like,
Wow.
what is going on? As I'm saying this, I'm thinking, what is going on? He responds with the same accent. Because apparently he was also transformed. But it's one of those weird
No,
moments where
you
like...
don't know if he was transformed because you don't know if he
yeah,
actually
true,
speaks that
true.
way.
I still
So-
remember his name was Joshua Jacobs and he went to Bishops. If you are listening, we should probably link up because I thought you were cool on the day. But then I remember my surname was different, so we got separated and then I never saw him again. Anyways, he was a cool guy, showed me where I needed to go. Though he didn't know either. But anyway, I looked at myself like, did you watch Spider-Man where he gets the black hoodies on his and he turns into Black Spider-Man? I was like, what spirit of whiteness is entering me? All of a sudden I was like, yeah, I feel the
Yeah.
urge to walk Calfoot
Yo.
and like invite him to a brown Saturday, you know?
Wow.
It just like, I was like,
It
what's
must
going
have
on?
filtered the air differently.
And when I got into the car with my brother, who by the way went to UCT, when he was with his UCT friends, he also rolled his R's. It was bad. I didn't recognize
We
him.
just do
But-
that because we kind of feel like, we might feel a little bit under pressure. Like we don't want to be that gam.
Oh, because you guys are in Rondebosch.
You know? It's kind of like, and everyone, it doesn't matter
Yes.
which complexion you are.
Yes.
Everybody speaks that way. So
Well, most
everybody
people.
just
I will
goes that
say,
way.
in high school, I used to avoid all the Kham people, all the Kham colored people. In my first day of varsity, I realized we are a dying breed. And when I heard a Kham person in my class, I was like, you shall be my friend. You are my brother. I need you to keep me grounded here. So that's how my stance changed
Nice.
on Kham friends.
Nice.
But yes, I will admit to being a hypocrite in that sense. I will say it still annoys me when you switch up your accent.
And you can also confirm that I do not change the person that I am,
Yeah.
regardless of the accent.
Okay.
There we go.
Fair enough.
So you don't have to be annoyed
Yes.
because I'm still me.
I will work on myself, Samantha. At least I will try to.
You can't work on anybody else.
Yes.
You can work on the
Unless
nerves
you're a
only.
surgeon. I think that's a wrap.
Yeah.
I think we can conclude.
was
So
good.
thank you everyone for listening. Thank you Edson for being here. Thank you
It was-
Samantha for
It was a pleasure. I missed this a bit.
I missed it
But
too.
more than a bit.
And I look forward to having you in future, God willing.
I look forward to being part of more happy and honesty, and we leave it there.
I should also say, just because the last time I gave Gershon a more heartfelt thanks, just because it's rare that I get to tell my friends that I appreciate their contributions. I will say, Samantha, thank you for providing me with equipment and for basically being the sole producer
Indeed.
of this podcast.
I agree with you.
I appreciate your contributions.
Agrees with your thanks.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. It's
Thank
a
you to
pleasure.
thank you to everyone for listening. And we will see you next time. Unless we won't, but we will. God willing.
Indeed. Thank you, everyone.
That's
Bye.
quite smooth. I hope the broadcasters were listening.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Well
you
done.
know?
I'm dropping it.
There
in
we go. See you.